Welcome back to the Godly Young Men Podcast. This is episode 56. We have got just about as, standard of a Godly Young Men Podcast episode as we could possibly have today, because we're talking about masculinity, kind of masculine things that we believe godly young men should be doing. We think that they are healthy for godly young men to do. We'll elaborate more on those things in just a second. But essentially, this is a Godly Young Men Podcast episode about masculinity, which, again, is really at the heart of why we started this podcast. And as you think about it, we've talked before about the fact that masculinity is just flatly under attack in our society today. You don't have to go far looking to find that. Get on social media, just look at what the feminist movement has done. Look at a lot of the celebrity men that are held up today as the masculine type of people. They're not. Masculinity is under attack. Men are being shouted down. Men are being feminized. You've obviously got the transgenderism problem where men are wanting to be women. All these things. And so it is so incredibly important that we as godly young men figure out what is biblical masculinity and how do we essentially not get detracted from God's plan for masculinity based on what everybody else around us is doing. Especially if you're a young man who's going to public school, man, is the pressure ever going to be on you to basically not be masculine. And so we're going to talk about a lot of the things that are viewed as masculine that we do believe you should be doing. And I'll save the list for later on.
We got our reasons why.
Yeah, we have our reasons, and we're going to elaborate on those reasons. But Joe, let's talk first about the fact that there are a lot of kind of fake versions of masculinity that are out there. Even aside from, again, the men wanting to be women, that's kind of obvious, and stuff like that. There's even kind of some faux versions of masculinity out there that the world might be trying to sell to godly young men as, hey, this is masculinity, when it's really not. Get us into the first one of those.
Yeah, I think you have a bit of a pendulum swing, which we're going to get into. And on the one side of the pendulum swing, you have the Andrew Tates of the world, the misogynistic chauvinist who's just a jerk. I mean, just to put it as blunt as possible, the guy is flat out a jerk. I'm sorry. He doesn't treat people well. He shouts people down. And
kind of bulldozes everybody.
Bulldozes. It's like a bull in a china shop. And there's no self-control in this. There's no humility in this. It's just you're a misogynist and you treat women poorly, and you're a chauvinist where you are, you're just a jerk to everybody. Really is what it comes down to. And so I think that's on the one end. And if you watch TikTok and if you're on social media, that's what you see presented as, this is masculine. This guy just puts people in their place. And even Trump to a certain degree, right? That's the masculine where he can shout people down, and he can really just manhandle people. Okay, that's not what we're talking about with masculine things. Swing the pendulum to the other side, and you kind of have the good boy, pat on the head, oh, what a nice guy. He's almost more friends with the ladies than he is actually a boyfriend to the ladies.
The guy who never says anything controversial, never says anything negative, never really takes a stance,
and never sticks his neck out for anybody, basically, because he's just a nice guy type of thing. He doesn't take a risk. He's kind of the chameleon. What everybody needs him to be, he'll be. So if you need me to be a doormat and basically have no boundaries, okay, well, that's what I'll be. I just want to make sure everybody's happy. And so we have that, which the feminist movement really pushes. They don't want men at all, and so the only man they accept is one that's a complete pushover. I'm
going to say this, too. It's not going to be super popular. The church pushes this one as well. The church majorly pushes this kind of nice guy thing and make the women happy, make the
happy wife.
Don't get anybody upset. Don't say anything controversial. All these things. Unfortunately, the church in many instances is trying to sell young men this idea of this is what masculinity is. This you start to be a servant leader, and what they really mean is, again, just don't ever make anybody upset. Right. Just kind of don't ever take charge. Don't ever take ownership. No. We need men to take charge of things. We need men to take ownership of things. And the nice guy never does. Yeah. The good boy never does. He, again, just wants to do everything in the realm of what's going to make everybody else happy. And so, those are kind of two ends of the spectrum there. Go ahead.
Yeah, the third one, it kind of, and maybe I should have lumped it in with the first one. It is different in the fact that I don't think you have to be a misogynist per se, but this is more, I think this one's the one that the culture pushes. And I would actually say down in the South, what I was going to say is, this is a Southern thing. Sorry, I'm picking on the South here.
He is, man. Picking on my South here.
Look, we got a lot of problems.
He just has a beef with country music, and so this is him. This is
country music personified. Yeah, we drive loud trucks. We drink beer. I have no idea. There's you know what we're talking
well,
about.
Even
There's
stuff like I got a big long beard and just kind of stereotypical stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. The big bushy beard. Yeah, I think
I watch 12 hours of college football every Saturday, stuff like that.
That's a good one. Yep. I can eat 3 pizzas, at once type of thing. Like but the big tough guy is really what we're getting at. This big tough guy where he's got the lift kit on his already lifted truck, and so it takes a step ladder to get into the truck because, well, it's like, dude, you are compensating for something. So that's the thing that a lot of people in the culture push is this is what makes a man. And like you said, the college football on the weekends, and I'm just going to go out on the lake with the buddies, and I need my guy time where basically every 3 days you need guy time to get away from, the old ball and chain type of thing, because that's what's masculine. No, we're not talking about that either.
And those are stereotypes, and those are stereotypes that I would say are not true for what true masculinity is. But the reason I had this one third, actually, Joe, is because this is what we're gonna get into for the rest of the episode. I do think there are some things that are traditionally viewed as masculine that are quote unquote stereotypes that are healthy for godly young men. Obviously, the tough truck, drinking obviously is a problem, but those types of stereotypes is not what we're referring to. However, I do think, and we think, that there are some stereotypical masculine things that pretty much all young men, I think, should take part in, at least to some extent. We've had episodes on some of these here and there before, but we wanted to have this episode to kind of envelop all of them and kind of encompass all of them to show this is why doing these masculine things matters. And so we're going to run through some of these, and then we'll get to why it matters. But things like lifting weights, going to the gym, exercising, just kind of conquering your body, so to speak, specifically lifting weights. That's a masculine thing, typically associated with masculinity, that I think is very, very healthy.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. You look at, again, going to the stereotype, and you have the women, well, you're just a gym bro. Okay, there's a stereotype once again. And I guess this is a question, before we get into some of these, because we can go down the list, and I think each one of these is important. I am curious your thoughts. You don't have this on the outline, but I'm curious your thoughts. How do we differentiate between what is a good stereotype and what is a negative stereotype? So why do we not have on our list driving big trucks? I'm curious your thoughts on that as to how do we differentiate the stereotypes here as a positive and negative stereotype? Because to your point, I think that's very fair. Stereotypes aren't always a bad thing.
Well, I would say scroll down on our outline to where the why it matters portion is.
That's true.
The big trucks, all the things we have on our why it matters outline doesn't really fit that.
Yep.
Everything else I think does, and obviously you're like, what do they say on their why it matters thing? We'll get to that in a second. I guess my point is what I would say is everything we've got on our list has another, not function, what am I trying to say? Serves another role for you as a man that is very, very valuable. Yep. And the big trucks, to me, does not. Let's real quick run through the whole list so people know what we're talking about. We've got on here lifting weights and exercising. We've got on here playing sports, having some kind of competition, hunting, fishing, fixing things as a man, working with your hands, really being in the dirt. And then just kind of being a gentleman, holding the door open, kind of walking on the street side with your significant other, your wife or whatever. Things like that. Those are stereotypically male, masculine traits. And Joe, I appreciate your question. I think it's a good question. Like, okay, well, why are those things fine, the other things aren't? Think about those in the light of the other side, which is the big trucks and the drinking beer and things like that. There is a difference. There's something that, again, contributes to you as a man with everything that we just mentioned, that, I'm sorry, driving a big truck, what does that contribute to you as a man? Your ego gets bigger, or I don't know, people turn their head and look at you, I don't know. Maybe go ahead.
Here's how I would answer it. One is for God, one is for others. All of these things, and you go, how's lifting weight for, right? Well, it's either for yourself or for God. The other things, the big truck and the drinking beer and everything else, that's to make you look cool. That's to make you look like, look at me, I'm a man.
To be clear, there are some people who go to the lifting weights and things like that to look cool. That's not what we're talking about.
That's not what we're talking about. I would say the reason this stereotype matters is a man needs to know who he is. A man needs to know, we're going to get to why, in the why it matters, I keep jumping ahead, so I apologize, but that's why on this front end of this, with everything that we have here, it's really important that you're not doing this for show, that you're not doing this because you want everybody to see you as a man. If you have to have a lift kit truck or lift kit put on your truck for everybody to see you as a man, you're not a man. You're not a man. So these are the things that help you be a man and help you feel like a man in your mind. And so let's walk down this list. We got lifting weights and exercise. Why is that a positive stereotypical thing for
I'm
a male.
gonna go to the second one on our list, and that is because this has been scientifically proven. Lifting weights increases your testosterone, which again also been proven helps you make better decisions as a man. You say, well, what are you talking about? No, seriously, like it has been shown that men who exercise, men who lift weights, men who are, because think about what you're doing. You're tearing muscles down. It's a mental thing a lot of times. It helps you make better decisions because it increases your testosterone. It's such a good and healthy thing for men to lift weights. I wish we had Jack, Joe's brother, on for this section of the podcast, because goodness knows Jack has done so much research and work in this area.
About it.
He could speak about it far better than certainly myself, and probably Joe as well could.
Yep.
But that's a big one. Again, I'm sorry, driving a big truck doesn't increase your testosterone to help you make better decisions. In fact, it probably helps you make worse decisions if you're driving a big truck, honestly.
That's very true.
What else would you have to add on that?
But no, I think you're spot on with like the testosterone. This has been shown when your testosterone levels are low, you don't feel like a man. You wonder, and again, kind of what you spoke to, like you make decisions based on what is going to help me be liked and what's going to keep me safe within the collective.
You're talking about the lower testosterone.
The lower testosterone, right? Lifting weights very much raises that testosterone. If your testosterone is high, you don't look at, is this going to get me liked? Is this going to be safe? You look at what's right.
What's the right decision?
What's right, what's true, because you're a man. And testosterone actually helps you be a man. Estrogen is for women, and testosterone is for men. This is what is our sex drive, and this is a lot of things, but it also is what gets us out of bed in the morning to be a man, and to
not
conquer.
hit the snooze button.
To not hit the snooze button a bazillion times. And to work hard and to achieve in life and to go out and make money and to take care of the family and to have kids. Testosterone is key to that. So the guys that are lacking that, a lot of times they can't have kids. Their sex life is not very good at all, but they also lack a fundamental drive in life.
Playing sports also I would group this one in with the lifting weights, because talk about increasing your testosterone and getting you in a situation where you're competitive, you're working for something, you're maybe working with a team, you're exerting yourself, and that really is what it comes down to. And we said this before. Again, we're 55 episodes in, so we're going to start repeating ourselves at some point. I'm sorry, playing sports is so much better for you as a man, or lifting weights, than playing video games.
Esports.
Yeah.
That does not count.
Right. Like there's such a difference there that is just common sense. Like it's so easy to see. Better for you than, I don't know, I don't want to shout out certain people on here, but like Dungeons and Dragons. Like it's better for you, okay? Shout out to, if you know, I'll just leave it at that. But like it is better for you for that reason. It increases your testosterone, helps you make better decisions. But Joe, and this will we'll go back to number one on our why it matters outline here of these gender things. Hunting, fishing. You might say, well, what on earth? How does that help with you being a man and being more masculine? What would you say to that?
It's interesting. The first two we've talked about before. We've had a gym episode, right? Yes, we've had a gym, goddamn man, but we had a gym, get to the gym, a working out episode. We also had a sports episode, why that's important. These we have not discussed before in hunting and fishing. Being a conservationist, being somebody who gets out in nature. Why is it important as a man? Well, why it matters. This really increases the sex or the gender contrast between a man and a woman. You go, well, hey, look, my girlfriend or I know some girls that get out there and hunt. No doubt, there are those. However, this is by and large a masculine thing, a man thing, shooting a gun. Hiking, tracking animals and understanding those things, sitting quietly potentially for hours, which I would say deer stands barely count. Everybody in the South has deer stands, and in Colorado we actually did the sporting thing. We had to run after them, or walk after them. I suppose they'd hear us if we ran.
Sounds way more fun.
But goodness, you'd walk for 7 miles and see nothing in Colorado. But either way, and then you sit here and shoot like 10 deer in 2 hours. But it's different. Either way. Hunting, fishing is important as a man because this is one of those, like, you do need to get in nature. That's been proven to really boost a man's positivity, right? Like, men that are depressed, get out in nature, enjoy God's creation, but also take pride in the fact that, man, this sounds terrible, but, like, you can kill things, man. You can kill things. You can gut the animal. You can provide. There's something primal about being able to provide for your family some meat and to put it on the table. You talk about, well, our ancient ancestors and, no. I don't get into all that garbage. Like, this is not a million years ago, but God did have us be able to go out and to kill animals and to, again, provide for our family. There's something so masculine about that that's like, man, all right, I can do this.
We live in a world that is ever trying to blur the lines between men and women, to make everything gray. It's fluid. You can kind of be what things like hunting and fishing and some of these other things we got on the list. To me, they do, like you said, they increase that contrast. Like, this is what a man does. this is what a woman does. And not that a woman can't fish or hunt. That's not what we're saying. But traditionally, those being masculine things, it is better if you as a godly young man, I mean, I haven't hunted a ton. I don't fish a ton. I mean, you're the same way. Yeah. But we do it. We enjoy it. It's something that I do think you need to at least know how to do. And it's something, and to Joe's point, everything he just said, you need to know why it's important. And you might still be listening, wow, that's not really that important. It is. Like, I don't know any other way to put it than everything we talked about as far as, again, increasing that gender contrast. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in that last thing that I've got on the list. Things like hunting and fishing have naturally been things that men did since the dawn of time.
Yep.
Literally, go back to the beginning of Genesis. Go back to, the start of creation.
Yep.
These are things that have been masculine things. These are things that men have been doing for generations, for thousands and thousands of years. And for us to just come along and say, nah, no thanks, I'm going to go play video games instead. Or,
I can just go get a burger at McDonald's.
Right, yeah, exactly. I'm that's not really for me. I'm more into whatever it is. I'm not trying to just dunk on everybody that doesn't do these things. But again, these are masculine things for a reason. Thousands of years it's been this way.
Knowing how to shoot a gun, comes along with this. That's a masculine thing. You need to know how to shoot a gun. You need to know how to handle weapons. No, you don't need to be Rambo out here who knows how to handle every last weapon. And I'm not talking about that. But you need to understand the feel of a kick of a gun. You want to know those things. Why? Because there's a self-defense. You're going to defend your family, right, on the gun, whatever it is. But also, again, the idea of being able to, if stuff hits the fan with a nuclear holocaust type of thing, and we're all having to live off the land.
If you don't know how to do anything, who's going to help you?
Right. Yeah. You want to know you can do it. Right. So do you have to be Mr. Survival Man out there? No, not necessarily. But some of these things like fishing or like hunting, you set up camp, you set up the tent. I don't want to belabor this point too much, but there's a lot of things about hunting as you go with the hiking and knowing that you're in nature, but also you're setting up camp and you can live off the land. Like, there's something so masculine about that. Maybe you don't take a shower for a couple days, and it sounds so dumb to say that, but like, you can do it if you have to. The pretty boy, which this speaks to me, man. I take a shower about every day. But the pretty boy aspect, like,
Joe just called himself pretty. How about that?
Gorgeous, right? No, but you need to know that you can rough it. You need to know that if everything goes south, you alone are going to get out there on Brad's property and come shoot all his deer. No, just kidding.
Right.
But you know what I mean? Like, there's that aspect. But then the next thing I would get into, along with hunting and fishing, is fixing things. Why is fixing things so important?
This steps on my toes because this is one of those things that, like, I would just so much rather somebody else do it, so I can go do things that are, in my opinion, more important, and I have to tell myself and remind myself, no, this is important. I need to know how to fix the dishwasher. I need to know how to fix the laundry machine. Me and my wife, actually, we replaced our own garbage disposal last year, and it was like, there's just kind of a sense of accomplishment of like, we don't have to, call somebody up and have them go fix it. And in fact, the guys that typically I respect the most are the guys that are like, oh, what's wrong? Oh, let me take a look at it before it's fixed. You know, like, I desire to be at that level one day, because I'm certainly not. This is the area of the outline I'm still personally working on the most. But yeah, there is something inherently masculine and something inherently healthy about you as a young man. Let me fix that. Let me try to fix that. If I don't know how, let me figure it out.
You want your wife looking to you. More than anything, you want your wife looking to you. And if possible, for others to look to you and go, hey, yeah, have Joe take a look at that. There is a self-esteem element to that, but there also is, like, you want to be kind of the next point, good with your hands. But when it comes to the fixing things, yeah, I think things like, and my brother actually did this, learn how to change your own oil. Now, I've never done that. Here's the other side of this when it comes to fixing things. There's two different things to consider. First off, when it comes to working on cars, I used to know how to work on cars. They design things way different than they used to. You used to be able to take a couple parts back. Now, these things, the way they build cars is so difficult that if you start tinkering, you may never get it back together. So there are things to consider on that. For the oil change, I don't know. I look at it as like, my time is very, very valuable.
That's also the way I feel.
So, you have to have that kind of idea. But would I be willing to do it? Absolutely. Would I be willing to get under the hood of a car or to jack up a tire to change a tire? Yeah, I've done that too.
That's another one. Yeah, you need to know how to change a tire. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Exactly. This is what we're talking about. Is if you make your wife get out on the side of the highway, you better get out and better start walking. Like, don't get back in that car, because you're not a man if you're going to let your wife get out there and change the tire. You change the tire. You be the man who steps up in that area. You be the man who at least tries to fix it. And if you can't, call somebody. That's okay. But it's not like, well, if I call a plumber, that makes me less of a man. No, but you need to be willing to look at it and not be afraid of what you see and go, I don't even know what I'm looking at. Try to learn some of these things. Get us in the next one.
Yeah, the next one I would say, and we'll be quick because it kind of ties in the last one, but that is working with your hands. Specifically knowing how to do certain things. Things like woodworking, for instance. I know my father-in-law, Shout out. There's no way he listens or watches this, but if he does, shout
He's got
out.
like 5 daughters, doesn't he? 4 or 5 daughters.
He's got 4 daughters.
Yeah, there you go.
But he does a lot of woodworking, and it's seriously some of the most impressive stuff. Like it's really, really cool. But there is something about that, again, as a man, to be able to do stuff with your hand. You know your way around power tools. You know how to, you know how to operate, things out in the yard. Mowing your lawn. All of these things that are, again, just inherently, naturally manly things. Again, if you're the guy that's like, no thanks, I'm gonna stay inside and let somebody else do it. Not great. That's really something I would encourage. And again, I don't always fault guys for this because, like, for instance, I know I wasn't taught a lot of things as far as, like, fixing things. So I know maybe you were never taught to mow the grass, or maybe you were never taught. Man, look to learn. Look to make these things a part of your repertoire. And as you YouTube you can YouTube anything these days. And so that's what I would encourage you to do.
There is a scientific aspect to men working in the dirt, working with their hands in the dirt. And it actually does improve your mood. Like there is a natural, what do they call it? Like if you're depressed, go work with your hands in the dirt. I don't know what it is specifically for men. Being out in nature and that have a calming effect and also have a mood boosting effect. It elevates you. I think this goes back to us being created from the dirt. Personally, I think God knows this, and so we were intended to work with our hands from the beginning. That's a big part. Go out and garden. Go out and when you're doing landscaping, you get out there, you pour the bark, you do things like that. That's part of being a man, but it also, again, has a very strong tie to our emotions and to being... being present.
I'm going to get to, we've kind of been going back and forth between all the examples and then also why it matters. Like we haven't kind of consistent. I'm going to jump back to our last reason as far as why it matters. We've talked about, just to review, it increases the gender sex contrast between men and women, which is important. It increases your testosterone, a lot of these things, which helps you make better decisions. These things have, again, naturally been manly things since the dawn of time. But fourthly, and I think this is a really big one, Joe, it increases your self-esteem as a man. Just think, for anybody who knows, I'm gonna tell my story. Actually, I'm gonna save my story because I want to do something fun at the end. When you do a lot of these things, playing sports, getting a bass on the line, really, really getting that one last rep in, working with your hands, mowing the grass,
fixing something,
making something out of wood with your hands, fixing something. There is such an ego boost. Not an ego, I shouldn't say ego. There is a self-esteem boost.
Oh, no doubt.
There is a
sense of
I
accomplishment.
can do this. Sense of accomplishment. I'm a man. I did these things. And it's not for the sake of, I just want to prove how much of a man I am. But, man, we live in a world where there is a lot of insecurity. There's a lot of self-esteem struggles. And is this ever a way to kind of improve that and increase that? And women, your wife, your girlfriend, your fiance, whatever, they want to be with a man who has that confidence, who has that high self-esteem, who isn't just, we've talked about this before, looking at her and go, man, I'm just the worst. I'm just a loser. No. They don't want somebody like that. They want somebody who knows, I can do this. I can fix this, all these things. And so increasing your self-esteem is a big reason why we do believe all of these things matter.
Absolutely. The biggest thing is have a will to learn. To your point, we don't necessarily know all of these things. This is stepping on our own toes. The last time I went fishing, I was probably 16, maybe. It's been a long time now. I've had a desire to go fishing, but I'm not great at that. That's something that somebody else is going to have to show me. Ask around. If your dad knows how, my dad knows how to fish. That's who I went with last time. It's been a while. That's going to be something that I'm going to look to do hopefully in the next year. The hunting, we used to hunt in Colorado. We're going to try to hunt while we're down here. Like you said, fixing things. Neither of us are like super great with our hands and fixing things and things like that, but we are working on it. We have a will to get better. We have this desire to say, no, I'm going to take a look at it first and see. That's what we're looking for here. And so, as we look to kind of wrap up, we had the other thing on here of being a gentleman, holding the door open.
We've talked about that before. That's just kind of natural.
That's exactly it. Like, step up and be a man, pay for the woman's meal. In this day and age with the woke, feminists, like, on the one hand, they don't want it. On the other hand, they're very, like, you see people that are going, he paid for my meal. That's really nice. Like, that's what a gentleman does, right? So as a man, once again, that goes back to your point. We've been doing this since the dawn of time. Take care of those around you. That's what a man does, is he takes care of people. And if I can take care of my wife by fixing something, by helping her get something hung up on the wall or whatever it is, that is your duty as a man, in my opinion, to really set the tone. And what do I want my sons to see? My sons to see me sitting on the couch watching YouTube while their mom is doing all the work around there?
Right,
absolutely not. Like, my son's going to grow up to be a pansy if that's the case, because I am. Don't let that be the case for you. It is so important to do masculine things. And that's really what this episode's all about. Yeah, it's a rehash of some things we've already talked about before. But we wanted to come back around, and I'm so glad you had this idea. We really wanted to come back around to like just recognizing these things, the small things do matter in helping us feel like a man, helping us be a man, helping others see that we're a man and we're not doing it just for them, but knowing that we can be trusted and will step up when things are on the line. That's really important, and it starts with the small things like this.
That's 2 episodes in a row. Joe has just had a perfect way to wrap the episode. I'm just going to stop talking right there. Yeah, again, maybe you're somebody who you read a lot of books, also important. You play a lot of video games. You stay indoors a lot. We would just encourage/challenge you to start looking into some of these things. I've got a good buddy who is really good at fishing, and a good buddy who's a different buddy who's really good at hunting. I try to spend time with both of them separate times. Shout out Hunter, shout out Landon. Find people who are good at this stuff. I think that's something that is really helpful to, again, if you're not somebody who's familiar with these things, find other people. Look for somebody at your congregation who maybe runs a landscaping company that you can help in the summer, and you can really start to work with your hands. So many practical ways. Again, if you're one of these guys that's like, man, I just don't know. A lot of outlets and ways you can do that. So I said I was going to let Joe wrap it, and I lied and kept talking. So we're going to stop right there. This has been episode 56 of the Godly Young Men podcast. Thank you so much for watching and listening.